Joining us now with reaction to tonight and the campaign, Donald Trump Jr. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
You were just saying, could you have imagined a few weeks ago that this is the situation? Your father went up against 16 heavyweights, not lightweights.
100%. Listen, I think everyone thought that the Republicans would be fighting this thing out till the end of July. The convention was going to be a disaster, all of this, and the Democrats were going to get their ducks in a row. And exactly the opposite's happened. So we're just very excited about it. The party's coming into line now very well, and we're finally letting the will of the people be heard.
Listen, you got to follow Donald J. Trump's timeline in real time, and he just tweeted out. It looks not bad. No, it's not a retweet. I know the family worries about retweets. I look so forward to debating crooked Hillary Clinton. Democratic primaries are rigged. Email investigation is rigged, so time to get it on. He's right about the Democratic system being rigged. If I'm Bernie Sanders and I win West Virginia by, 15, 16 points? And he got one more delegate than Hillary.
Well, they're both rigged. I mean, I think the Democratic side's actually substantially worse than the Republican.
So much worse.
We had the same thing in Pennsylvania, right? You could have won every GOP primary voter in Pennsylvania, and you get 17 of 72. I mean, it's a little ridiculous.
I think, you get 17 of 72, but that was the one area where you guys really had the great ground game.
Correct.
And that made a big difference. And then winning Indiana, that was game over.
100%. And listen, the team's evolved, right? We're new at politics. I joke, I've been in politics for 3 weeks. We figured it out pretty quickly. What we've done is historic. It's not a campaign, it's a movement. People are getting it. People are buying into it. They understand it. They're passionate about it. And so, that's really shown. And I think now, again, we're running a great campaign. I think we're going to do phenomenally.
Let me show you the headline. Crossing the line, how Donald Trump behaved with women in private. I have now interviewed 4 women. Carrie Prejean will be on. She's former Miss California. She was in the Miss USA contest. She was on my radio show today. She was livid that they mischaracterized how she feels about Donald Trump. She's supporting him. She wants an apology from the New York Times. She said this was purposely distorted. And when they called her, she said, I have nothing bad to say about Trump. And they still took it out of context.
I mean, it was such a hit. I mean, they're basically the #1 surrogate for Hillary Clinton. I mean, they're no longer media. I mean, it's so biased, it's ridiculous at this point. I mean, they're not reporters. They're just doing whatever they want to perpetuate the left agenda. It's insane. I mean, same with Roseanne Brewer. They're, wait a second, I said this, but in the context of this, they didn't include it. All of these people, and by the way, not just random people in the story, right? They quote-unquote interviewed 50 people. They quoted 4, and the 4 that they quoted are now coming out and saying, wait a minute, this isn't what we said.
That's like we had on your father's own girlfriend. It was amazing. And she's like, I love Donald. He was a gentleman. He was the nicest guy. What they said is false. They didn't print all the good things I said about him.
No, it's insane. I mean, in the end, what I got out of it is say, well, Donald Trump used to, when he was single, he liked good-looking women. I mean, wow, that's a big shocker. Unlike any other male in America. I mean,
it is pretty funny.
So stupid and so biased that if that's all they have, I'm pretty excited because that's really lightweight stuff.
Let me go to this Kentucky race. It's like now it's a 1,700 vote difference.
Yes.
She's not winning. She can't close. Think about this. A 74-year-old, angry, bitter socialist curmudgeon from Vermont. She was supposed to run away with this thing.
Who was an independent, by the way, a year
ago. Socialist,
right?
A Democratic socialist.
So, it's incredible. I mean, I think it shows the real weakness of her campaign. Now, we understand there's a machine there, there's everyone on the Democratic side backing it, but the people get it. She's not likable. There's nothing that she's done that makes her likable. She's not going to get those independent voters. She's not a person that's going to be charismatic enough to get people to motivate, to come out and vote. I think that bodes very well for us. We're excited to run against her.
It's interesting how big the issue of immigration has become in this campaign. We went back. We got a sound of Bill Clinton. It's the 1996 State of the Union. Tell me if this sounds a little bit like somebody close to you in your life. Let's roll the tape.
There are some areas that the federal government should not leave and should address strongly. One of these areas is the problem of illegal immigration. This administration has taken a strong stand to stiffen the protection of our borders. We are increasing border controls by 50%. We are increasing inspections to prevent the hiring of illegal immigrants. And tonight I announce I will sign an executive order to deny federal contracts to businesses that hire illegal immigrants. We should honor every legal immigrant here working hard to be a good citizen, working hard to become a new citizen. But we are also a nation of laws.
Now here, I think, is why this resonates so much. Because Republicans have said it, Democrats have said it. Democrats want a voting constituency for generations. Republicans, historically, they wanted the cheap labor for their big business buddies. Your dad's going to build that wall if he gets elected.
He is, and it's really what the irony of all of that whole quote is. It just goes to show you the typical hypocrisy in the Democratic Party, right? It's always do as I say, not as I actually do, right? Whatever's convenient at the time to win these things. It's really a shame. And again, as a business guy, I could take advantage of that cheap labor. But what that cheap labor does, it undercuts hardworking Americans. It undercuts their wages. And think of African American youth and the all-time high unemployment that we had after this president who's supposed to be doing so much for them. We have all-time high unemployment in those demographics. Because those are the people being hurt.
And your father has said this. We hear unemployment numbers are going down. They're not going down.
No, listen.
We stopped counting them.
We stopped counting because he's been looking for work for 6 months. He can't find it. Congratulations, you're now no longer looking for work. Wait a minute, I want to work.
We don't count you in the unemployment number.
It's such a fake, artificial, and that's what everyone does. That's all of it today is padded statistics.
Millions more in poverty, millions more on food stamps. We have the lowest labor participation rate in 40 years. We've doubled the debt. Median income down about $5,000 a family. Home ownership at a record low. And how do you run as Hillary's running on that record? Because she has supported Obama on all of those things.
I guess you promise everything, to everyone that you can't possibly deliver, and then you deal with it, in 8 years. It's ridiculous, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about giving jobs back to Americans, letting Americans prosper again, letting them succeed. My father's doing this not because he has to. He doesn't need this. He can sit back and play golf for the rest of his life. He's doing this because he wants to give the same opportunities that he's been able to have as a family, as a business, as an entrepreneur, to everyone else in America who've been starved from these things.
What shaped me in my life is 2 decades of my life. 1 decade in the restaurant business and 1 decade in the construction business. And if I didn't do all those jobs, I knew what it was like when the economy went south and the phone stopped ringing as often as you needed to ring to keep the people working for you working. Who do you like for VP?
I don't know. Listen, I think we want someone who probably has some of that D.C. experience. I think we're not naive. We don't have the hubris to assume that we know everything. We need someone who can help us navigate those waterways. So that's going to be important. But, there's a list that we have to go through, and there's a lot of people on it, and we got to really see what's the right fit for my father.
You're not going to give me one clue as to who's
come
on the list.
Come on.
Come on.
It'd be good for ratings.
I did. All right. What do you like? Do you like the concept, and I asked your dad about this when he was on last time, a team of rivals? In other words, announce your vice president, announce Rudy Giuliani's position, Chris Christie's position, Rick Perry, Bobby Jindal, Scott Walker, Jan Brewer, and you have a team.
I think a lot of those people, maybe not all, but I think a lot of those people could definitely be involved and would be. And I like it conceptually because I think it shows, hey, this is what we're going to do. Here are the people's positions. It's real. It's not, pie in the sky. And I think those people, and certain of them certainly have track records that you can say, hey, this is the guy that should be doing that job, and he'd do a phenomenal job. So I certainly like the concept. We got to obviously work on what the list is and who we want to go out with. And some of it, again, it does have to be on the fly. Just like a business, you can't just plan for something 2 years in advance. You have to sort of see what the situation is at the time and see who's going to be the right person at the time.
What do you make of Mitt Romney, Ben Sasse, Bill Kristol, and the talk of a third party? Why would they want to hand the election to Hillary Clinton?
Well, I love all these quote-unquote true conservatives basically saying, we'd rather have Hillary Clinton. It shows how true their convictions are. Honestly, they sound like spoiled babies. They didn't get what they want. They couldn't close when they had their opportunity. So now we're gonna take our toys and go home.
And they're mad at the people because this was a record voting year.
Well, they're mad at the people because they can't believe that the people aren't in line with their thoughts, as opposed to the way it's supposed to be, which is they should be in line with the people. They care more about themselves than the people, and that's what we're trying to change.
65% of Republicans feel betrayed by the Republican Party. I'm going to run through this list because I made a list about the promises your dad has made with interviews. You really believe he can balance the budget?
I do.
And he will build that wall.
It's waste, fraud, and abuse. The one thing that none of these guys have ever done is run a business. You can't have my father's track record of success, the continued success over 40 years, building jobs. You were in construction. You know how difficult that is, right?
Sure.
People will take advantage of you when they can.
And he hired union labor in New York.
And he did that with union. He did it. He's able to make those things work, but he's also able to see when there's nonsense, when there's people taking advantage, and he's going to call them out on it. These other guys, they're playing with funny money. They've never had to do it themselves, so they're just, here, spend. What difference does it make if a hammer costs $500?
If his agenda is to balance a budget, build the wall, repeal Obamacare, health savings accounts, make America energy independent, destroy ISIS, rebuild the military, help vets, end Common Core, how do you argue that's not conservative? Even I understand populist, nationalist, but those things are conservative.
It's a very good question, Sean. I have no idea, and that's why I don't understand the mess. But it does actually lead me to understand why those guys were inelectable in their own way, right? They're unelectable because they didn't get that. They didn't know how to deliver that. They weren't comfortable in their own skin. And, that typical conservative dictum of you have to be all 10,000 of these things or you can't be a true conservative, You know,
He's also pro-life, pro-Second Amendment.
That's not the way the average American thinks. You know, there's people in the middle. So why don't we nurture bringing in the people that we've brought into this party? I mean, just for a primary. I mean, look at states like Pennsylvania. 100,000 people switched over from Independent or Democrat to vote for my father. Like, I can't imagine as a business guy or even now as a politician for the last 2.5 weeks not nurturing that and welcoming that inflow.
I'm going to be the first to ask this question. Are you ever going to get into politics?
I don't know. I got a long way to go. I got some stuff I have to do in my career, but, you know, maybe. It's fascinating, especially when I look at some of the guys in there. Like, I think I could do a lot better job than most of these guys.
I've said that many a night here.
You have. I've heard that a lot from you. You're my number one surrogate as it relates to my potential political career.
I have a plan for you, but I'm not going to discuss it publicly. All right.
I appreciate it.
Quick programming note. Tune in tomorrow night, 10 Eastern, right here. Donald Jr.'s dad, Donald Trump, will be our guest. That's tomorrow night at 10.